Greetings and welcome to Live and Let Die with me, Lembit Öpik.
And me, Mark Oaten. Why are we rushing so much? You're like literally rushing me.
Yeah, because I'm busy. I haven't got time to speak to you all day.
I was about to swear, but
I know, yeah.
You came right out of the starting blocks there, really, really fast. And
Because
the music had hardly finished.
Yeah, one time we did a show, and I'm still bitter about it. And I was sitting here waiting for you to say something, and then you berated me for not being all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and leading you like some parent.
This is so typically Lembit. Like, you're either like slow and lethargic or too fast. Can't we just have something moderate and in the middle, like being a liberal, for example? Oh, that would be a good idea.
That's the problem. You think liberalism is right down the middle. That's where you've gone wrong. You finally confessed it. You didn't even mean to. Liberalism is being an extremist when it comes to freedom. But you think, oh, it's not really. Ever since your party got poisoned by its infectiously bad coalition with the Tories, it's all down the middle now.
There's nothing wrong with being centralist, moderate, seeing arguments on all sides, being liberal, yes, but also being strongly against the extremes of the right and the extremes of the left. And that's exactly the comfortable territory that I like to be in. And I suspect most of the population wants to actually be in. Why is it that all the political parties rush to try and get to the center? Because it's where most normal people want to be, Lembit.
What have you been up to? A grayer shade of pale. Well, never mind what I've been up to.
I'm on brand.
Yeah, you make me feel like this. If I could read the brand, I'd try to get them to sponsor the show. I'm not sure how I bought it.
Primark are not going to sponsor this show, Lembit. I have to tell you. It's just, they're not,
what's wrong with Primani?
Well, apart from allegations about mass production and fast fashion and stuff like that, nothing wrong with it at all. In fact, I've got a sneaky feeling that this T-shirt might indeed come from said shop. But listen, I've been out and about.
Your hypocrisy knows no bounds. You're obviously trying to change the subject. And I know when you say that, you're going to brag about something you've been doing. Go on.
No, I'm not bragging. There's nothing bragging. I've been in Brussels. I've been in the commission, meeting one of the commissioners. And, every time I go to Brussels, I want to be a proud European. I want to be embracing Europe and all the stuff that goes on there. I'm so against Brexit. But then every time I go to the Commission building and I have to go to room number 4.23678, and I walk down these corridors, all with these obscure titles of things that they're doing, I suddenly get really frustrated with what goes on in Brussels. The rules, the regulations, the interference, the bureaucracy. It's unbelievable. So it does wind me up a little bit when I go there. So I was walking down those corridors. I was getting a little bit wound up, and I was starting to think, do we need all of this? Did we overcomplicate this dream of Europe? And I suspect we did. I suspect that it started off with a great idea, one building, and now there's buildings everywhere in Brussels, corridors full of people, too many regulations, too many rules. There you go. I've got it off my chest.
Bravo, Brexit Oaten. At last. You're a bit late to the party, but there we go.
Brexit's been a complete and utter shambles. All I'm saying is,
unlike Britain before and after it. Honestly, Ursula von der Leyen, you love her politics. The failed politician who did what many failed politicians do, like Leon Britton, run off to the European Union, no proper scrutiny, but a massive big paycheck and expenses coming out of your ears.
Are you trying to make a case to say that this country is better off since it had Brexit?
It could have been. It could have been. But we never got Brexit, did we? Except we got somebody who would like to get us back into the European Union. And we got the Lib Dems saying, oh, let's have the best of three for referendums. And the Tories, who had a chance to do it, had screwed it up. The whole reason Reform is doing so well is because Boris Johnson betrayed Nigel Farage. If he'd given Farage a peerage, then Farage had probably been settled with that. But instead, Boris Johnson lied to Reform, totally lied to Reform. So Reform came back for more. That's the problem.
If you look at look, Reform are doing really, really well. I don't acknowledge that, although I would like a little bit later in the show to talk about what they're doing when they have power, particularly in Kent County Council, where they're covering themselves not in glory, I have to say. But we can come on to that a little bit later on. But the reason Reform are doing well is not because of Brexit or those kind of issues. It's because of the total abject failure of the main political parties to be able to address the issues that the country is concerned about. But I don't think on Europe, Reform are necessarily speaking in tune with the majority of the people anymore, who now actually see that Brexit didn't deliver.
Oh, come on. That's just nonsense. You show me a serious poll that says that. I don't really want to talk about Brexit today. Go on.
If there was a vote tomorrow, I suspect that we would vote to go back into Europe.
Oh, no, we wouldn't. And that's the pantomime that you type create. Oh, I think everybody realizes that Brexit was a big mistake. No, what was a big mistake was the Lib Dems, Tories and Labour, who were so determined not to do it that we haven't got Brexit. If we were actually a proper independent country, like America, with all the beautiful tariffs, all the other things we could do, then we would actually be big friends with China, maybe quite big friends with Russia, maybe quite big friends with India. But instead we sit here wringing our hands with Starmer going, I'm totally sorry about Brexit. And then von der Leyen, who I really loathe because of her cynicism and everything else, saying, okay, well, we're going to run rings around you again, just like they did in the Brexit debate. I don't know why are we talking about this. Brexit's not even been in the news.
I know, just because I went to Brussels and now you're on your high horse talking about pantomimes and stuff like that. The pantomime season hasn't even started yet. We're close.
Oh, yes, it has.
Oh, no, it hasn't. We're closer to Halloween than we are to Christmas.
Well, at the time of broadcasting, but
Halloween party,
but somebody, Brexit was, yeah, well, they're fine. Yeah, horror story. Yeah, going back would be a horror story. It depends when people are watching it. If they're watching it in the archive in the middle of summer, you've just date stamped the entire show. People will be saying, well, this must have been broadcast years ago to begin with. If you are watching it in the archive, you've got the advantage because we're going to make predictions and you can decide which of those are right. Incidentally, I forgot to say, and I get getting told off in my ear, please subscribe to Unprecedented TV at YouTube, and then you'll get all the other shows as well. I have to do that. It's our little commercial there. Well, anyway, I'm glad that you like Brussels. The best thing about Brussels is the garlic mayonnaise.
The garlic mayonnaise, no, it gives you terrible breath the next day. You don't want to have to. The best thing about Brussels is the waffle, and that's exactly what we're going to get into now. So let's have a show, Lembit.
All right, well, that's where do we start? That's not New York.
You've got your what's that behind you? It looks like a
it's a polar bear. It's a Can I get the gallery? Can the gallery put me onto full screen, please? And then you'll see what it looks like. See if the gallery can do that. There we are. There you are. You see? That's a polar bear.
It's about to gorge you in the back.
That's the whole point. I'm trying to create a sense of jeopardy and fear, Mark. But what it really wants to eat is COP30. That was this big this environmental piece of rubbish in Brazil. COP, something like a convention of the parties or something. It's not a convention. I forget what it stands for. Yeah, all these people all show up. That's the tiny number of them. Like thousands of people turn up for this COP thing. Oh, I wish I could remember what the C stands for of parties. And it's all this bunch of people who wring their hands. Oh, there's a climate emergency. Oh, it's a climate emergency. And the poor countries say, yeah, you're destroying our countries. Give us reparations. Give us reparations. And then the rich countries go, oh, we're most terribly sorry. How much do you want? And then they give our money to them, even though there's no climate crisis. And the reason that this is behind me, the reason there's a polar bear behind me is because the population of polar bears isn't going down. It's going up. There's a record number of polar bears now since 1962. The whole thing is a load of rubbish. It's rubbish, Mark.
Right. Calm down, because you're adding to the ozone by all of that hot air coming out of
ozone. You don't even know what it is.
I see. You think? There you go. I think I saw the Mayor of London in that picture as well. What's he doing there?
Oh yeah. The Mayor of London's there, and you got the Mayor of West Yorkshire because they're going to save the environment. There he is. The man doesn't even know the difference between CO2 and pollution. Carbon dioxide is our friend. It's the gas of life. He thinks that somehow his stupid policies in London are cutting CO2 and that makes everyone healthier. He doesn't realize plants breathe CO2. You know, that self-satisfied so-and-so travels around to these things with his self-important pomposity, having ruined London, having presided over terrible terrible knife crime pandemic in London, destroyed central London for people like me, because I won't go there because I've had my phone stolen there twice in 6 months, once in front of a Charing Cross police station, once in an actual coffee shop. He doesn't care about the fact that the actual pollution that you breathe is higher, and let me finish, higher in the underground than it is at street level. And then he goes and pontificates in Brazil. How did he get there? Did he walk? I don't think so. Go get him, Floyd.
Wow. Can we just, so hang on a minute. We've got COP30, COP30, then we've got C40 cities. What on earth is that?
Cities that are all involved in the climate emergency change. That's another piece of complete rubbish he's involved in.
There is a whole business of these conferences and these events and these jargons and COP this and C40 that. What are they actually doing? Are they making a difference? Now, look, you and I disagree fundamentally on the whole issue of climate. I believe that we do need to be doing something. You believe there isn't something to be sorted out. My question is, what is the point of this conference? What are they actually going to deliver? There will be presumably at the end of the conference one of those long scripts where they've argued for hours about the wording. But is it actually making a difference?
No. Yes, well, it is. It actually is. In the sense that it's increasing emissions, because all of these people fly there. There's a massive private jet industry that flies them all there. You know that Brazil actually knocked down part of the rainforest to build a road to make it easier for people to go around I remember it's called Conference of the Parties. These people fly together millions and millions of miles so that they can all join and wring their hands and say, oh, we have to stop people from flying. The whole thing is a sham, Mark.
Look, it wouldn't, it will. If it delivered on reducing the impact of the climate, it would be justifiable, in my opinion, to fly individuals there to have this kind of conference. You do need to knock heads together. What I don't understand, and I've never really seen great evidence, is that whenever you have these big conferences, nothing other than a few sentences of commitment seems to happen afterwards. Where is the meat? Where is the detail? Where is the actual action that follows from these events? Now, look, you wouldn't want the action because you don't believe in it, but I do believe in it, but I want to see the action. And I'm yet to be convinced that these kind of jolly get-togethers deliver what actually needs to happen.
Let me ask you this question. How many, the two parts here, and I know Moose is going to start getting angry if I go on about this too much. There we go. Amazon road failed to build road for Amazon forest failed to build road for climate summit. You couldn't make it up.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. How much forest was cut down so that they could drive around at their ridiculous climate summit?
Okay, but you do believe it's a bad thing to knock the Amazon forest down, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a natural habitat. I don't want them to knock down the forest where I live. It's nice. I think it's great. Farmer to fly with 9,000, Storm to fly with 5,000 miles to attend Brazil's COP30 climate summit. Let's say that everyone who attends flies 10,000 miles return. That's rough, maybe average. I'd say average. Because they're there from all over the world. Do you know how many people attend this conference? I'll tell you, 50,000 people. So 10,000 times 50,000. I know you're not good at maths. That's 500 million air miles. 500 million air miles. Just to sit there and say, oh, we got to stop flying. We got to stop flying because we're wrecking the environment. Let me tell you something. In anticipation of this conversation, I worked out the net contribution to the atmosphere of the whole human race every year in increasing carbon dioxide. Let me ask you this question. In terms of how much we're putting in, atoms per million, every year, how much is the human race increasing the amount of atoms per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? Have a guess. Just guess a number between 0 and a million.
A million.
Well, that's ridiculous because then the whole atmosphere would be full of carbon dioxide. It's 0.1.
Not at a million, I did.
No, okay, 0. You couldn't be more wrong. 0.1 atom per million. That's how much the net contribution of human race is. Right. In other words, if you round it to the nearest number, 0. Okay. Nature puts in about 2.5 billion into the human. And this is the thing. What really annoys me about this is the lies. Polar bears. The polar bear population is going up. But would you even think it if you watch people who I used to admire, like David Attenborough, the poor threatened polar bear? It's not threatened at all. There's too many of them. That's why they go and surround poor people in the north of the world and try to eat their bins. And this is the point. Yeah. They're trying to get into Burger King, and I don't know where the Inuits live. What makes me so angry about this is it's destroying Western civilization. And India, China, Russia, all the sensible countries, they're laughing all the way to the bank. And what do? We buy everything back. We buy everything back from the countries that manufacture because we don't.
Let's try and take this away from the big event in Brazil and the fact that there's all these air miles being used, although from memory, I seem to think you've probably got as many air miles as all of these guys put together. But
yeah, but I don't feel guilty because I don't think there's a crime. And you're a hypocrite. You've got more than me.
Yeah, that's okay. I offset it because I've planted about 60 trees in the land that I live in. So I'm trying to offset it a little bit. But look, let me bring it back down to what you agree with and what you don't agree with. I'm fascinated to do this. Do you have, for example, in Chateau Öpik, a recycling bin or not a recycling bin? Yes or no?
No. Oh yeah,
don't?
I have to because they make us do a recycling bin. The local council does, but I don't take it very seriously.
Do you see any benefit in basically taking a bit of paper and putting it in one bin as opposed to a bit of plastic and a bottle putting it in another? Or would you just happily chuck it all into one bin and think it doesn't make a blind bit of difference?
After what I saw when I was an MP, when people were separating their rubbish and then it was all thrown into the same hole, no. I mean, I just don't believe it. I've seen it. I've seen what they did. When I was an MP, I saw the utter ridiculousness of it. And here's another point. Okay, let's say if I put my plastic, I put the piece of glass. Oh, I don't know, I can't find anything to hand. I put this piece of paper in one bin, and then I put I don't know, this spoon for some weird reason I don't want it in some other metal bin. Well, okay, great. So I've made my contribution. And then Keir Starmer spends billions of pounds blowing up things in Russia. I mean, how much does a bomb do? In terms of releasing the whole thing is nonsense. Keir Starmer flew 9,000 miles return to a climate conference. I don't think me putting out here's an old peanut butter jar. I don't think me putting that in the right bin is quite as bad for the environment as Keir Starmer flying across to be ignored. Keir Starmer flew to Sharm el-Sheikh to meet Donald Trump to embarrass himself when Donald Trump obviously didn't take him seriously. He went there for a 1-minute photo op. No, Mark, I don't think that separating our rubbish is making any difference.
I'll leave aside for a moment the weird fact that you have a spoon and peanut butter jar in
that was studio. Weird. Yeah, I agree.
That is slightly weird, although nothing surprises me with you, Lembit. But I come back to this point. You say it doesn't make a difference, you doing that. But the fact that probably around 20 million people in this country choose to do it suggests to me two things. First of all, they can't all be wrong. And secondly, collectively, everybody doing it must make some kind of difference. Or are we, all of us, when we toddle out on a Sunday night, putting our bins out with green bin this, green bin that, are we all bonkers?
Yeah, bonkers.
Come on, Lembit.
Yeah, we're bonkers. Because
all
what we should really...
20 million of that people... What should we be doing then?
Well-meaning.
Nothing.
I'll tell you what we should be doing. Well, I'm glad you asked me that. I'll tell you what we should be doing. We should be making packaging, which it doesn't matter what bin you put in, because it biodegrades nicely. We should be having a deposit on bottles like we used to have, where you put your empties out and you get 5p. And what we should be doing is creating a system where you don't have to encourage people because they do it for themselves. Essentially, in my world, Mark, and I used to be in fast-moving consumer goods, and I was actually, you'll be surprised, I was actually quite involved.
You worked in McDonald's, you mean?
That's not a fast-moving consumer good. Fairy liquid, aerial automatic.
Have you been through a drive-through at McDonald's? It's very fast-moving. Although there's always a big queue in the one where we are.
Well, okay. Well, you want to talk. If you eat McDonald's, you're not exactly like taking the vegan approach, are you? But I'm surprised you got one where you live. I'm surprised you don't have to grow your own food and catch it. But basically, if the way I would do it is, if I was the job that Ed Miliband, the odds are literally blowing in the wind. If I was doing his job, what I'd say is, forget burying carbon dioxide. It's nonsense. What we say is, let me go to see companies like my old one, Procter & Gamble, very responsible companies, say, how can we make your packaging take care of itself? So you put it in the bin, in the ground, and in 100 years' time, if it was all Procter & Gamble packaging, you could grow stuff out of it. And you can do that. You can have biodegradable bottles. You can have, in fact, actually, you do have, we certainly had little Lenore cartons, which were biodegradable. I helped to launch that. And it was unbeatable softness and a handy little refill. And that was reducing packaging. What you do is you make the packaging good so that you don't have to retrain the human race.
Lembit, 100% agree. On that, we're absolutely in agreement. It drives me crazy when you open all the packaging and then the little thing that you bought is just that size and the packaging is this size, particularly Easter eggs and all that stuff. Agree with you totally. But here's what I don't understand about you. If you want to do that, you want to get rid of all the packaging, there must be a reason why you want to do that. Therefore, I conclude that you also believe it is bad having all of this waste. Ergo, you also believe it's bad for the environment. So
yes, I do.
Accepting an element of the fact that there is a problem with climate.
No.
Yes, you are. Well, then in which case, why do you want to have these decompostable things by Procter & Gamble then? There must be a reason why you think it's a good idea.
Because I don't want the whole of the planet Earth, to be a rubbish tip in 1,000 years' time. It's nothing to do with climate. Mark, we can even if we wanted to, even if we made CO2 generators, we simply couldn't drive the climate. Because what happens is all the plants go, nice, tasty. They have a nice nibble and make bigger tomatoes. That's why farmers pump carbon dioxide into their greenhouses. So the reason I want to do this, very simple. The reason I want to do this is because I want my children's children not to say to their children, sorry, we've run out of everything because we used it all up. What I'd much rather is that we have packaging, which means that the ground stays reasonably usable and clean in 1,000 years' time. Nothing to do with climate. Mark, we're going to a cooling period. Right, if you're watching this in the archive, ladies and gentlemen, and the year's 2060, I told you so. I told you so. You'll see. Oh, yes.
Sorry, Lembit. I mean,
they'll be having COP55 saying, what are we going to do about the freezing? That's what they're going to be saying. Probably before then, actually.
We all know that none of us are going to be here in 2060 because an asteroid will have come and destroyed us all anyway.
Well, exactly. So in that case, forget it. I'm just going to throw my stuff over the hedge now.
What, the peanut? What's that? It's a peanut butter jar. For goodness sake.
I'm not sure what that's doing in the studio. Who left this in the studio?
Moose did.
Yeah.
They love it.
I have to confess. Yeah, well, I hate Nieces to Pieces. They're in there now. No, there's a reason for it. I actually didn't have lunch today, and that's why it's there. But I never thought I'd make it famous. But if the co-op wants to sponsor the station, very tasty, very smooth.
Are you a crunchy peanut butter person?
No, my teeth can't handle it. Smooth. Yeah,
smooth. Really, your teeth can't handle it.
Yeah, my teeth can't handle it. No, they can't. They can't at all. No.
Are they
my teeth are ruined from the accident I had in 1998 for another time. Yeah, I smashed my teeth up and everything else. But you can't distract me.
I just wanted to make a joke then, and you lower the tone or you bring it back to the fact you had an accident, and I can't make any jokes.
No, because you think I'm as sensitive as you are. Yeah. And also, I know what you're doing. You're trying to distract me from my rage about that idiot mayor of London going over to COP30. I mean, nothing's going to happen. They all go away from these things, say, oh, we all agree. We'll have to do something. This is a great phrase. A conference like COP, Conference of the Parties, consists of individuals, 50,000 individuals who individually can do nothing, but collectively can agree that nothing can be done. It's the poor saying the rich must give us money. The rich go, yeah, maybe not, but not this year. And then the record amount of oil used last year, 2024 being the year with peak oil, will be replaced by peak oil in 2025. That's what will happen.
Yeah, look, we can agree on two things. First of all, skepticism about COP and its conferences and whether it actually delivers. And we can agree also on the need for less packaging. So, you know, I think I'll settle for that.
Why can't they use Zoom? Why can't they use Zoom? Why can't they just do it on Zoom? I don't have to travel all over the world to meet the people I work with on an NGO, which is global. So, but they all have to go to Brazil. It's ridiculous. And incidentally, we were talking about mayors, and I feel I've maybe got a bit overexcited there. But you may have seen recently another mayor I'm not sure about is the new mayor of New York.
Yeah.
Did you see this story? Yeah.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. Taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city.
Wow. I mean, look.
Are we nearly there yet? Are we nearly there yet?
Turn the volume down, Lembit. Turn the volume down. Look, Trump has had a free ride for quite a long time. He's had Biden as an opponent, then he had Kamala Harris as a opponent. Nobody on the Democrat side has really been able to capture a mood or stand up against him. Now, at least this guy seems to have captured that. He seems to be articulate. He seems to have energy. He seems to have enthusiasm. He seems to have charisma, which none of the Democrats that we've been seeing over the last 8 years have really had. So this guy potentially could be a threat to Trump. It's interesting that New York has chosen to go in this direction. If any city was going to do it, of course, it would have been New York. The catch, I think, here is that he's probably too left-wing. He's probably not going to be able to capture that mid part of America if ever he were to run against Trump. So it's fascinating that there's a strong contender out there, someone standing up to Trump. The risk is he's just going to be too left-wing to be able to bring Democrats together.
You say that he's got charisma, and you're right about that. But so does Kim Jong-un. I mean, the reality here is...
Really?
Yeah, I think he's probably quite charismatic. I would say so.
I love his suits. They're amazing.
Yeah, the main difference between Zohran and Kim Jong-un is that Kim Jong-un isn't as left-wing. I mean, this guy is off the scale. He's off the scale. You know, he's going to have free bus travel in New York. How's he going to pay for that? He's going to rent cap the properties in New York. Okay, well, then what we know is from UK experience that there's a lot of the rent, depending on how extreme he is, a lot of the renting landlords will say, forget it, I'll just sell it off. And then they end up with a housing shortage for rental as we have in the UK. This man is so bad that he's already doomed himself because he won't be able to deliver what he says. And also, here's the biggest irony of all, Mark. Actually, there are two. One is, why doesn't the mainstream media call him far left? Because if he was Reform UK, they'd call him far right. He's obviously far left. He's a socialist. Back in the McCarthy era, you have to look it up on Google if you don't know what that is. He'd have been arrested for being a communist sympathizer. That's the thing. But here's the biggest irony of all. He's obsessed with Donald Trump. They're all obsessed with Donald Trump. The entire hard left, the far left, and the Democrats, they're obsessed with Donald Trump. Even he is a tiny little satellite orbiting around planet Trump. He proves that Trump has made America great again because everyone's talking about him, including Comrade Zohran there.
But look, Zohran, it's interesting because there are parallels to what's happening in the UK here. You know, everybody is obsessed by Farage. Everybody's obsessed by reform. And the parties are all struggling. They don't know how to respond to it. Everybody has been obsessed by Trump in America and globally, of course. And the Democrats and others haven't known how to respond to it. What I'm saying is that for the first time, we've got a character who appears to be young and dynamic and articulate. Unfortunately for the Democrats, he's too far to the left. If the Democrats can find a character who has those qualities, which Biden and Harris didn't have, and is someone who can unite the country and can be seen to be not on the extreme left, then they may be in with a shout. But at the moment, nobody's emerging. The only person emerging is this guy, and he's not the right guy for them.
Zohran Mandami is a Muslim. Now, you're gay. One thing he might be able to do is get the Muslim faith and Muslims to be a little bit more tolerant of homosexuality. Is he going to do that? That's an interesting question. If he does, then perhaps he'll create a more tolerant society. That I would agree with you. I'm sure we agree on this, which is desirable. New York is a tremendously cosmopolitan place. It's a melting pot and of societies, cultures, and ethnicity and everything else. Melting pot of preferences. The interesting thing is that the faith he comes from hasn't got a great reputation for being tolerant. So he can do good, but will he do good? Will he be the doyen to say to his faith, we've got to integrate, we've got to embrace the culture that embraced us? Now, if he does that, that would be a welcome thing, and I wouldn't be childish about it. The problem I've got here is...
I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of it. I hadn't seen it that way. I was looking at it through the prism of Republican Democrat politics and where this guy may fit in terms of what happens post-Trump. I hadn't looked at it from the reverse way, if you like, of so many, for example, gay New Yorkers potentially voting for this guy, but then voting for somebody of a faith which is not being welcoming to them. I had not seen that point. It's a really interesting one, whether he's able to modernize people's opinions about the faith, and whether he's able to shift the dial a little bit. That would be a welcome, from my perspective at least, a welcome benefit from this.
Well, let me do a test then. Let me set that test. Let's see if he tries to, using your phrase, move the dial so that his faith says, actually, we're going to update. We're going to revisit this. Then he's done good. If he doesn't tackle this, then there's a huge chasm between the city that he serves and the faith that he follows. It doesn't have to be, but then he needs to take some positive action about that. If he doesn't, then he's running with the fox and the hound. And another thing, if he creates a greater tolerance between, let's say, Christian and Muslim faiths, that would be really welcome. I don't have any issue what somebody's faith is. I literally don't. As long as somebody has a faith, they've kind of got a real big interest in that, because they all worship pretty much the same God. And I regard different faiths as kind of different accents of the same language. But we'll see. If it turns out that he doesn't get free buses travel for people in New York, he does mess up the rental housing sector, and he doesn't do anything to deal with these profound conflict situations in the world, often fueled by religious and ethnic divides, then he's actually missed a trick. Then he's just a big mouth.
But you know, there's a simpler test for me as well. So I go to New York maybe twice a year. I'm sure you're there in and out as well. And I've noticed the city in the 3 decades that I've been visiting it go through this up down cycle. Mayor Giuliani, for all his faults now, cleaned up Times Square. Yeah. Then there've been mayors that have let things, in my view, be run down. And the city is not at ease with itself. The last time I was there a couple of months ago, every single road, avenue had a cannabis shop, and the smell of cannabis was coming. There were people off their heads walking around the streets. It was dirty. It was messy. You know, the city didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel safe. And so, yes, I agree with everything you've said about all of the things that he needs to be able to do as mayor. But one thing he needs to do is to make New York great again. And it's not great at the moment. It doesn't feel like the city that I love and know. It's lacking. And if he can bring back that wajam, that thing where you go to New York and you suddenly feel the energy and the enthusiasm and the great possibilities, you know, it's one of the greatest cities in the world. But at the moment, it doesn't feel like it.
Well, I passed through a number of times. Last time I went through, it was a wholly unsavory and unpleasant experience, which I haven't got time to get into, but I was treated like absolute dirt by American Airlines employee. Yes, American Airlines, you let me down. You made me late, made me miss my flight, demoted me on the plane, and treated me like dirt in the airport. And that was a really bad look for American Airlines. So there we go.
I had the same.
Really?
I had the same with American. I had all my visas, all my ESTAs, everything all lined up, and they refused to let me board. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with any of my documentation at all. It was unbelievable. In the end, I got an apology from the head of their airlines. They gave me compensation. They screwed me over big time. I remember I was due to be out traveling, and I couldn't travel because they literally would not let me travel, even though everything was in order. So I went back home, and the next day I went, because I wasn't going to be in America, I went to see Watford, my team, play. And there was a big announcement at the start of the match. Watford FC welcome our new sponsors, American bloody Airlines. I couldn't believe it. And
why didn't they? Did they tell you why?
Basically, I was one of the first flights out after COVID when you could fly. I got my ESTA while COVID was in place, but it was valid for a 2-year period. So there was nothing wrong with the ESTA, but they said, oh, it should never have been given to you while COVID was in place. It was bizarre. Anyway, sorry, we digress. I forgot.
Yeah, but the lesson here, and we're going to break them. American Airlines, stay away from it. The whole one world, British Airways, they've gone down the pan. British Airways is an absolute disgrace, but they're partnered with American Airlines. And if you're watching British Airways, why don't you give me my points back? Then I might be a little bit more sympathetic. But there we go. Am I washing my dirty laundry in public? Too right. I take my flying seriously.
I'm taking it the ad break is not going to be American Airlines or British Airways. Something just tells me it's
only in irony. It would only be out of that in irony. After the break, let's talk about another conflict situation, not me and Mark, but Ukraine. Hi, I'm Lembit Öpik, head of Unprecedented TV, and also presenter of Lembit Öpik Live 5 days a week from Monday to Friday, where we find the facts, kill the spin, and tell it like it is about the stories making the headlines all around the world. Our mission is to give you the facts and our views and help you decide for yourself what you think about the pressing matters of the day. And that's not all. If you subscribe to Unprecedented TV on our YouTube channel, you'll find a great selection of fantastic presenters producing interesting shows all through the week. I hope you will join us and myself on Monday to Friday at Lembit Öpik Live. Our aim is not to beat the mainstream media, it's to be the mainstream media and return free speech to the airwaves. Thanks very much for watching this. Please watch our shows. I'm Lembit Öpik. This is Unprecedented TV. We'll see you soon. Great advert, Mark. It's a really good advert.
How come I never get to do the How come I never get to do the adverts?
You can do one. Do you want to do one? You'll get you to do one. Game on. What? We'll do one. Okay, game on. Yeah. Once we come off air, then you can do one. Great.
I get to do my own advert. Anything I want. Anything I want. My antique shop.
Ideally something about the station, but all right, if you want to. Okay, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you can have an advert on anything you want. There you go. The great thing about being the chief executive is I can actually do that. I can say yes.
I don't have to pay. I don't have to pay.
Well, yes, everybody has to pay, but we'll work out what it is. Yeah. Basically, no reasonable offer refused. I'd love to. Game on. You can have an advert. You can have that. I love the power.
No? Go on. Coleman's mustard advert?
No? As long as you've got permission, yeah. I was thinking maybe something closer to home, something that you actually do. But there we go. I mean,
big leaf and pine.
You're actually doing it. Yeah. How about? I'm not going to show you the dirty old
a half bowl of hummus.
how old is that?
Very
Don't
fresh.
answer. But is that the penicillin brand? Now, just before we go any further, out of curiosity, favorite cities, and then we do need to talk about Ukraine. I'll tell you my favorite city in the world, or one of them anyway. It's Guangzhou in China. I absolutely loved it. I had the pleasure of working there for a while, and I was working for Procter and Gamble again, that company, and I really loved it. I actually would have asked for a transfer if I hadn't become an MP in 2010. I just found the optimism, the sense of industry, the safety again, and the food was absolutely magnificent. People go, oh, China, it's all restrictive and so on. I actually think they're freer than we are. You know that China has a fraction the number of arrests for hurty words on social media than the UK. Everything about China I find pretty attractive. And I think you can have a high quality of life and respect there as well. That's what I mean. There it is, Guangzhou. I've been up that building. And it was just really magnificent. It's huge. It's got 13, 15 million people. Sorry, John. Mark, you've been there.
No. I mean, look, China fascinates me because there are 90 cities the size of New York. And most people can only name Beijing and Shanghai. You're absolutely right. All of these other cities, it's extraordinary. I was in Shanghai, to your point, a few months ago, talking to a great friend, Danish friend. And we were talking about, okay, so there's restrictions, there's lack of freedoms. And he turned around to me and he said, Mark, the freedoms that matter to me are we're sat outside on the street and my mobile phone is on a table and I know nobody's going to steal it. The freedom that I have is I can walk back to my apartment and I know I'm going to be completely safe. Okay, I haven't got the freedom to go and demonstrate, but actually for me on a day-to-day basis, that's not a freedom I necessarily want. And it made me think about freedoms and China in a different perspective, because you do have freedoms of safety and we don't have some of those freedoms. So I entirely get what you're saying about China, and some of the cities are absolutely phenomenal, but it wouldn't be, because I don't like the food. I struggle with the food. Last time I was there, they made me eat turtle wings, you know, the little wings that the turtles have. Yeah. They made me eat boiled pig's blood, and you know, I just can't be doing with that. I even had one of the live shrimps they had, and they ask you to put the live shrimp into the boiling water, and I was really reluctant to do that. And my shrimp tried to make an escape. It actually tried to climb out of the, you know, all of that is just too much for me. So I do struggle with that side. So for that reason, my favorite.
But you don't have to do those things. They never made me do that.
No. I have to do. I'm a special guest, and they want to treat me because this is the big boss coming into the area, and so these are the big treats, and you have to participate. But the reason why my city is different is because of the food, and it's Paris. I absolutely love how on every avenue and boulevard you can just pop into a brasserie and you can get amazing. Isn't there are there a couple of people on a ladder trying to climb into that window?
I was thinking that. Ladder to La Louvre.
Yeah, I just love the city. You know, you can walk it. Every corner there's a big hit, whether it's the Louvre or Montmartre or whatever it might be. So no, it would be Paris for me, Lembit.
It's interesting. I used to love Paris, but it's turned into an open toilet. You got people living in the streets. The people, I'm sorry to say, a friend of mine was there recently and watched a person defecating in the street. It's just the whole thing. It's just gone down the pan. The first time I went there, I was on a school trip in 1977, and I was just so in love with the city. In the late 80s, the early 90s, I'd go there for a long weekend, and it was just everything you imagined in a film. But now they've got the same problem as London: mass migration, uncontrolled, no real policing of this shanty town mentality, and it's not just in the outskirts, right in the middle. And then on top of that, they made it worse because you can hardly drive around the place. I have to say, I'm really disappointed. I just think it's become a grubby echo of its once great self.
I do agree, but it's what I was saying a few moments ago about New York. You know, cities go in these cycles, and one of the things about mayors is in the big great cities, a mayor can kick that cycle back in a positive direction. And so let's hope that that's what happens in New York, and let's hope that Paris has better times ahead of it as well.
Maybe we can talk. I think we're almost out of time, so maybe just a real quick word now. One place I wouldn't want to go at the moment is Kiev. It's still Kiev. All this strange renaming. I never got that.
No. Have you been in the past?
Yeah, I had one time, but only for a day. It was on some trip long before this war business, I think. But a long time ago, so I don't really have a strong impression of it. My issue with the whole Ukraine. Have you been there?
I've been there like you once. I spent 3 days there. Beautiful, beautiful city. Hard to comprehend that it's all being put through what's happening at the moment. It's extraordinary. But I think what you're about to say is probably what I'm also going to say, which is, well, what's happening? Where is this? All the attention from Trump was on the Middle East. We had the peace process there. Incidentally, a ceasefire that was brokered, but also broken recently. But the attention seems to have gone off the conflict in Ukraine with Russia. And where is Trump? He was meant to be meeting Putin a few weeks ago, I think in Bucharest or Budapest, and that never happened. We seem to have stalled.
Yes, well, I think it's that man's fault. I think that Zelensky is an absolute disgrace. He's got a lot of explaining to do. How did he get so mysteriously wealthy on a meager salary? I'm tempted that we maybe would take too long on this. I'm tempted to say we should just do a separate show on this, really, Mark. So I'll only just say one thing. It's a prediction, which once again, if you're looking at this in the archive at Unprecedented TV on YouTube, my prediction is that this war this isn't what I used to think, but I think now this war will continue now until Vladimir Putin gets the buffer zone he wants, because they're winning hand over fist, actually. Meanwhile, Zelensky, who doesn't have any political background, apart from pretending to be a politician in the show, doesn't have any military background, as far as I know, is absolutely getting blood on his hands, because thousands of his countrymen, by orders of magnitude more than the Russians, are dying. And what are they getting in return for the deaths? They're getting a retreat.
Well,
so I don't know. Go on.
I can't let you have the last word on that without also pointing out, frankly, that Putin is no angel, and that with all of these conflicts, both of them have got to try and find some kind of way forward. What interests me about this issue is whether or not Trump has got the energy. It does seem that he picks up with things, gets very enthusiastic, and then he runs out of energy. He needs to re-engage. He needs to start pushing the phone, having conversations, and making things happen again, because I believe that the so-called coalition of the willing, the EU, the UN, are powerless. They've been shown to be powerless. Whether we like it or not, the future of sorting this conflict out is with the man on the screen now, and he needs to step up again.
Well, okay, let's have a big heavy-duty one on this. Incidentally, here on Unprecedented TV, we're blessed to have as our regular daily contributor Warren Thornton. He's very well connected. He knows things before they happen, and that's really helpful. He's our man in Manila, actually, the thriller in Manila. And you can get him at pretty much every weekday, 6 days a week now, actually. And he'll be joining us even more with a sports show quite soon as well.
A sports show? Can I come on the sport? I want to do an advert and I want to come on the sports show.
You can, but also you've got to do some culture for us.
Yeah.
You've got to have your own culture show as well. A round with Oaten, something like that. Well, mark my words.
That sounds like it's golf, and I don't play golf. But talking of culture, can we get onto our TV programs?
Yeah, we're out of time. You go first, then.
So actually, it's very topical, given what we've just been talking about. This is running on Netflix. I think it's season 3. It's called The Diplomat, and it's basically about the story of the American ambassador. And in the most recent episode, the American ambassador is running. She wants to become VP. And there's a big twist, because all of a sudden in the episode that's just aired, spoiler alert here, the president has a heart attack. Alison Janway, who used to be in West Wing, suddenly becomes president, and the ambassador is throwing her hat in to become, there she is, the ambassador, throwing her hat in to become the VP. It's full of classic things of helicopters coming in and out of the American embassy, landing on the roof. And it's just, if you like politics, you like American politics, you like some good actors, It's a great show.
I get awkward about that show, which I know from history means that I'm not done with politics yet. Oftentimes, I used to get very agitated when I watched Question Time until I was on it. I don't think I'm going to be the American vice president, and I can't be because I wasn't born there. Used to live there when I was very young. That's interesting.
Well, let's pick up on that point because it's interesting because I did Question Time about 25 times over my time.
Yeah.
I can't watch it now.
Yeah.
It's odd. I feel like I'm very much over politics to some extent, but there is an association with the fact that when you did it at a certain level, you're on those programs, it's quite hard to watch them again now.
Yeah. It's almost the fear of missing out feeling, but also I think Fiona Bruce is absolutely a terrible presenter. She thought that a third of the atmosphere was carbon dioxide, 33%. It's 0.04.
Don't stop.
Yeah, a third of the atmosphere. The BBC, Climate Crisis BBC. You know,
we both did it with Dimbleby. We both did it in our day with Dimbleby. And, you know, he was so lovely, so gentle, the green room beforehand, putting you all at ease. But, you know, even when they play that music, maybe you can take us out with that music. It still gets your tummy slightly rumbling.
Yeah.
Because it was, I mean, that was, of all the things you did as a politician, I did Paxman a lot. That was tough. But Question Time was tough because it was an hour intensive, filmed as live. The audience were there. And you didn't know the questions unless you were sat next to Dimbleby and you could quickly glance across and see what he was writing. But did you
did you do that at school as well? Which is why you're always complaining about exam results.
Listen, if I'd done that at school, I would have passed my bloody maths O level and not failed it 4 times. Let's be honest about it. But you never know. You may yet be on Question Time in a different hat, in a different guise.
I feel I may be again, and maybe you too. My show is actually also political. It's a film which I watched. One of my late night films, The Insomniac Shift, A House of Dynamite. It's about a rogue missile being sent towards America. No one's quite sure where it's from. They have their suspicions. And then we see what happens next. We see it's a 19-minute period from launch to impact. And we see that 19 minutes from a number of different perspectives. I would give that show, as that film, 8 out of 10 on the IMDb scale until the last 20 minutes, and then it becomes a 3. It's ultimately, I don't want to spoil it, but ultimately, it's a tremendously unfulfilling, anticlimactic end. Now, I can understand why they did it, but I was very disappointed. So 8 out of 10 for most of it. I think it's 1 hour 45 minutes long. 8 out of 10 for 1 hour 25 minutes, and then a quick 8 down to 3, or maybe even a 2 at the end.
Lembit, can I just try and explain to you the point of this segment of the show? Okay, it's where we recommend programs that we enjoyed and liked, and we want people to watch. Not programs where we end up giving it a 3 out of 10 at the end and basically say you're going to waste an hour and 30 minutes of your life because the ending is shit. That's not the point of this segment. We're meant to recommend things we think are good.
But you're missing my point.
I'm not going to watch this bloody program now because I'm going to be waiting to be disappointed.
You're missing the point. Watch 2/3 of it.
Well, and at what point do I choose to switch off then?
20 minutes before the end.
Can you tell us exactly at what point we should switch off this bloody
1 hour 45 minutes before the end?
I'm sorry, man. I've got bare things to do.
1 hour 25 minutes. Sorry, not 1 hour 45. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have half watched.
All right then. 5 minutes. 5 minutes before the end. It'll still be better than watching the end.
I'm sorry, dear unprecedented viewers, but we'd just like to say that this current episode, we think that the first 20 minutes were quite good, but we recommend that you don't watch the last 20 minutes. Jeez,
I see your point. Okay, point made. Point made. They should be grateful that they even got that publicity. Yeah, I'll try harder next time.
And I don't want a bloody film. I want a TV program because that's what the segment is about. Stick to the rules, dear boy.
So you say. So you say. Well, we'll never do that. Thanks very much for watching. Have your say. Please subscribe to Unprecedented TV on YouTube. We've got lots and lots of viewers. The more of you join us, the more we can do. And we'll be back as well for Live and Let Die. I'm Lembit Öpik.
And I think there was a burp about to happen then, Lembit. But anyway, and my name's
No, I was swallowing hard in rage. I'm not finished with arguing about
Swallowing your pride. I'm going to press the off button now. Go away. Be off with you.
All right. I'll see you next time, maybe. Thanks for watching.